NSX. What is going on, guys? Welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be telling you guys 5 things that I hate about my Acura NSX. As you guys know, it is for sale, so I wanted to film a video with the car before it goes. I also want to let you guys know if it's windy, I'm sorry. You guys are kind of on the top of a little mountain thing. But before we get into it, if you guys are new, subscribe. If you like today's video, give it a thumbs up. I haven't filmed a video with the NSX in a little while, and I figured with every car, I have to try to film this video. It's always challenging because these are cars that I chose to buy. These are cars that I absolutely love and that I pretty much find flawless. But that always makes it fun to try to find things that you don't like about a certain car. So everyone can understand this is probably my favorite car on earth right now. If money was an object, this is my favorite car on earth. I tell everyone I'm only selling it because I miss driving a manual. The only thing that I am more passionate about how much I love this car is how much I hate having 2 of the same transmission cars. So an automatic and an automatic, or a manual and a manual. You start comparing the transmissions and it just becomes kind of annoying. That is the only reason I'm getting rid of this car. If I could buy another manual car and keep this, I would, and I do plan on buying one of these again in the future. So hopefully it's not too noisy up here, and let's get into it. The first thing that I do not like about my Acura NSX, by the way, for those wondering, this is a 2017, the first year of the new gen NC1 Acura NSX. A car that I've owned now for about, I want to say like 6 months now. I think it's been over half a year, which is crazy. I've enjoyed every single second with this car. The only modifications I've done to it, it's currently running catless downpipes from FabSpeed, and besides that, it is completely stock. The first gripe I would say I have about this car is that they reserved first gear for launch control. The problem that comes along with that is it will not downshift in a first gear. And it's really frustrating because even though in a lot of my automatic cars that I have, I normally don't downshift in a first gear anyway. And when you get to a stop, it will automatically downshift in a first. So you can start in first, but you have to hold that first gear and give it enough gas for it not to auto shift in a second. The problem is, if you're ever looking to get more power at a really slow speed, you have to come to a complete stop for it to go back into first. You can't just downshift. Another thing is, let's say you were to drift or you were to try to slide your car. It's kind of hard for it to slide in second because first gear isn't long necessarily, but it's definitely not the shortest gear. So if you ever want to be high in the rev range at low miles per hour, you literally would need to come to a complete stop to get it back to first gear. It's just kind of frustrating. I get why they did that. Same as 8th and 9th is reserved for like highway cruising. So I get it. It's just kind of frustrating. I don't know if anyone is going to tune it out in the future. I don't think, since anyone's done a custom tune on this car, anyone was able to tune any sort of thing out of this car, just the tuning box. And it being a hybrid system, it's going to cause problems. So that's my first gripe. My second thing I hate about this car is something that is A, fixable, B, I told you guys I already fixed, and C, still not a huge problem. I'd say the exhaust. I'm not saying the exhaust note, I'm just gonna talk about the frequency, the loudness of the exhaust. Stock, this car is extremely quiet. Keep in mind, it was kind of built to be a very usable car, and a lot of people who are gonna buy these cars don't wanna be screaming around town, I think. That's not how I feel. If I'm gonna buy an Acura NSX, I want it to scream, especially being a V6 with turbos that are a little bit sound deadening, and the electric engines, which might be doing the same thing. I fixed the problem, like I said, with putting catless downpipes in the car, and the cool thing about this car, I will say, is even with catless downpipes, no Valvetronic exhaust, just using the stock valves. Comfort or like eco mode in this car, even being catless, is extremely quiet. Extremely quiet, which means the car should have came much closer to this from factory. Maybe with higher flow cats, I don't know. But obviously it had to hit emissions, maybe that was the issue. But it is very, very quiet from stock. It was the same problem I had in my last car, my R8. The V8 R8 is extremely quiet from stock, and as soon as you throw an exhaust on it, it opens up like crazy. This car's the same, but aside from that, the engine sounds amazing. You'd be hard pressed to find someone to say this car doesn't sound good with the setup that I'm running right now. And that's one of the things I love about this car. It has certain characteristics that are so special to this car. Like a McLaren can sound like a couple other cars. A Huracan has some exhaust notes from other V10 engines. This car just sounds so special. Super weird things. With the catless downpipes, the turbo spool is extremely loud. It literally sounds like a Bugatti sometimes. Obviously without a quad turbo V12, but the turbo noise reminds me of Bugatti. Sometimes it has like a Koenigsegg rumble, and then obviously you get like a good JDM style V6 note. I can't even really explain it. A lot of Porsche in the shift noise. It's just kind of like a mix. It's like this hybrid, get it? Combining a lot of different exhaust notes. The driving experience is really nothing like anything else, which is, again, definitely not focusing on the negatives here, but again, back to the negative, it's a very quiet car, stock, which could be a good thing if you're old and just taking it to work. I don't know. Next one. On to the third thing I hate about this car. This one's gonna be a little odd just because realistically anyone who's looking to buy a car like this isn't gonna care too much about this. Let's say you want to take your car to the track or even take your car to a drift track. I don't know why you'd be taking an NSX to a drift track, not that I've ever done that, but to my knowledge there is no way of completely disabling stability and traction control altogether in this car. Obviously you wouldn't want to disable stability control when you're driving, but let's say you're at the track and you're going around a turn and your car goes to get sideways. It's an all-wheel drive car, but it is rear-wheel drive bias, and this car will slide if you'd like it to, or especially if it's wet. In this car, the stability control is like up your ass all the time. Like even with traction completely off, this car just feels like you're braking it. It feels like the rear tires will lock up. It just does super weird things, and I kind of found that annoying. Before my M2, this was my first car that like could slide, as all my other cars were very all-wheel drive. This was at least one that was rear-wheel drive bias, and at times could send a lot of power to the rear, and it just didn't really work. Like sometimes it would if you were in like second gear, but like the day I took this car to a little like go-kart track thing, I was having a lot of trouble with that, and it was kind of annoying. But again, this is just me trying to find a gripe in something that I find completely perfect, and I kind of have to resort to something like that while I'm sitting here trying to think of all the things I don't like about my car. So there's number 3, which is kind of lame. Number 4 might be a little better. Number 4 might be a little better. On to number 4, I think the fourth thing that I don't like about this car is also something that comes in handy. So again, guys, I know I'm just really trying to find issues with this car. Fourth thing is the hype around this car, which is right up my alley. But again, this is the reason I don't like it. For some reason, this car is just known for having a bad reputation in the car community. The problem with it is 99% of people who have anything bad to say about this car have never driven one. And everyone who's driven it or owned one says exactly that, and that literally after driving this car, it is one of the greatest cars for the money right now. And again, I think a lot of that comes from the sticker price of this car, which was a bit absurd. This car with the options coming in, I think around like $180,000+ is a little much, obviously. But the fact that I bought this car with under 10,000 miles for a ton less money is a big reason for why I think people need to drive it right now, especially with the used market on them. And on top of that, the reason I say it's good is because there's negative hype around this car, the values did drop. And I think it's gonna be doing the same thing that the old Gen NSX did, is where it dipped at the beginning, and then if you look at where they are now, a decent one's running you upwards of $100,000 still to this day. And that was a car that was made around 2000. So I expect values on these to do the same, which is why I think right now is a really, really good time to buy. Sadly, I'm selling. I thought I'd be able to keep the car a lot longer. Again, if I could own one of these and a manual car, I would, but I do plan on trying to buy one again before prices go back up. So yeah, if you haven't driven one, please God, go drive one. I guess the hype is one thing I could say would be a gripe. I rhymed. All right, on to number 5, the last and final thing I hate about my car, which I don't really hate. Okay, cool. Here is my number 5, something that I have, again, never really had a problem with, but I know it is gonna be probably one of the biggest gripes about this car, the storage space. This car does not have a front trunk because of all the high-tech electronics in the front and the 2 electric motors running each front wheel independently. So if you lift the frunk on this car, well, I guess if you just lift the hood on this car, it is a bunch of most people wouldn't really know how any of it works. So most people ask me, hey, can I see the... Whoa. It does that too. Sometimes it'll be in all electric mode and then it'll just, I don't know. Well, maybe it'll shut off again. That's kind of annoying, huh? All right, one second. Like I was saying, a lot of times people have asked me, even after seeing the trunk space, which I'll get to, hey, can I see what the front looks like too? And I'm like, yeah, you can see it, but it doesn't really store anything. So yeah, the trunk is really your only storage space in this car, and it's not very big, but it's not tiny. Like, it's usable. I could probably get by with using this as my everyday car. For most of the time I own this car, I did actually use it way more than I planned on using it, and there was never really a time where there was something too big to fit in there, but like luggage, there's zero chance, unless it's one of those small carry-on bags. You're supposed to be able to fit a set of golf clubs, which you can, but I hear it's very, very hard to finagle it in, and I'm sure if you have too big of golf clubs, it's not gonna fit. So there are my things I don't like about my Acura NSX. I wouldn't even say hate, but sure, let's say hate for the sake of this video. It's an amazing car. It comes with very, very, very little flaws. I think the biggest flaw is the fact that it doesn't have flaws, and that people think it does, and that people make conclusions about this car without even driving it. I've only literally known one person in my entire life, Alex Choi, who claims he doesn't like this car even after driving it. Everyone else, any of my friends who have like get behind the wheel of it, anyone who already owns them, anyone who spent real time in this car knows how impressive it is. It is absolutely amazing. I am so sad to be letting it go. But like I said, I know in the future I'll buy one again, so I'm not really too worried about it. I've had a good time with it. It is an amazing car. Maybe not the best car for the track that you can get the best lap times, but a car that you will very much enjoy at the track, very much enjoy in the canyons, and very much enjoy using it every day, unless you need to fit something bigger than a bag of golf clubs in the back. So with that, those are my 5 things that I hate about my 2017 Acura NSX. If you guys have any ideas about a last video with this car, let me know. It might still be here, it might be gone, I don't know. I've had a lot of people contacting me about it lately, but I will have a lot of videos for the replacement, and I've been putting out a lot of content with my M2. So my right leg hurts the way I'm sitting. I love you guys. I'll see you in a couple days. Peace.